Hello, cosmic souls. This video is for those who see, feel, and maybe even hear the metaphysical. And what I mean by this is I'm talking about maybe supernatural, extraterrestrial experiences. And let me tell you something, you are not alone. And for a very long time in my life, I felt alone. And here I am, ready to share my top 3 extraterrestrial experiences. And before we get into that, please let me know in the comments below if any of my content helps you, or you can relate to any of this, or you have your own stories to share. This is a safe space for you to do that, because I will read it and I will be excited to see what you've experienced. And I am going to speak on my own behalf, or my own experiences that I've had in my life. And don't worry about the internet trolls that disagree, or they're not really fully aware of these types of things, because really anybody ever posting anything negative or commenting anything negative is just them projecting their own insecurities onto somebody else. And internet trolls are really just a deeply wounded human themselves. So, much love to anybody who feels negative about people being free and expressing their own genuine experiences. Before I get into that too, I want to let you know that the physical and the metaphysical are always around us at all times. And I went to school to become a nurse, and if I wanted to go back to school and finish my RN, it would take me 1 year. So just to give you credibility, I do have science and biology, anatomy and physiology as part of my education. I am in the scientific space. I'm not just making these things up out of my butt. All right. My number 1 top experience happened when I was about 15 years old, and I had woke up and I went to go pee. All right. I went to go potty, and I went to go to the bathroom, and I always turn the light on. I'm scared of aliens. I've seen all the History Channel documentaries. I've seen these grays, whatever, right? And I went to go potty, and there's a nightlight in our bathroom. I walk out, I go to the bathroom, and I do my thing, and I walk out. But guess what I didn't do this time? I didn't turn the light on. I didn't turn the light on this one time. For some reason, and then as I was walking out, but there is a nightlight, I can kind of see the glow, and I look down the hallway. And I just look over there, and I see, like, there's like a wall, right? Maybe I can explain this better. There's like a little wall. And from my point of view, right behind the wall, because if I'm way over here, right? Here's the wall that I'm looking at. And then here's, at the corner of my eye, there's this 4-foot tall figure. And I look at it, and I'm like, I literally just do that. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And I heard a voice in my head say, it's cool, just go back to bed. And so I did. And at the time, my mom left a slipper in front of my door at night to get like fresh air in or whatever. And as soon as I laid down, I realized, oh, what the fuck did I just see? Like, I'm thinking in my head, like, what was that, right? And then I reach over, and I like reaching over through my bed, like grab the slipper and like close the door and lock it. And as I pull the slipper out and close the door, I hear these footsteps run right down the hallway. And of course I'm woken up. This is like 5 a.m. I'm up now at this point. I'm barricading my door. I'm freaking out. I'm like, I have no freaking clue what was happening. So number 1 with this is all those telepathic stories that I've heard about, like, they will be telepathic, and you can hear it in your own voice. And I did. And I told myself, it's cool, just go back to bed. Yeah, fucking right. I would never do that in a million lifetimes. But I did that one time. So that was my number 1 experience that really woke me up to, like, holy crap, like, this is, insane. And I kept it in for so long. I never shared with anybody. And then finally, when I did share with some friends, they called me Alien Boy, which was like, okay, like, it wasn't like, not like hurtful or any way, but nobody else I could ever share my experience with in the same way, and they could connect with me on it. All right, I'm gonna have to go back because the lighting sucks here. So I'm just gonna go home and make the video. BRB. All right, and we're back with the good lighting. So that is experience number 1, the gray. And ever since then, has been quite interesting. It was always this weird anomaly for me for a very long time. Now let's get to number 2. Number 2 is not just my own experience. Essentially, it's my whole family's. And I think I was around maybe 10 years old when this actually happened. And my mom one night woke up screaming. And at the time, my parents slept in 2 separate bedrooms. And during that time, when my mom woke up screaming, my little brother, who was, I think he was like 1 or 2 years old, she was sleeping with him in that room. And everybody woke up. And my mom said she saw like this big, tall, shadowy figure with like feathers and stuff. And we were like, okay, like just thinking maybe she's crazy or she just had a bad dream, like whatever. And, I went back to sleep. Anyway, fast forward to the future. I've already had my, gray experience, and then I started stepping in the realm of like really wondering like, WTF is going on? Like, what are the answers? Like, I want answers, give them to me now. Like, I want to figure this stuff out, right? And I was connected with people who actually did have empathic abilities, who knew about, source and some alien information and stuff like that I could finally connect with. And they shared with me something called cosmic disclosure from Gaia. And with Corey Good, I think, who's the one sharing his experience. And, I started watching, it was like 3 episodes in or 4, when he starts talking about blue avians and whatnot. And then my mom at the time, because like I was at home for a little bit. This is when I was like 24, 23, I think. And my mom's like, hey, what are you watching? Like, she was asking, and I'm like, oh, I'm watching this thing about aliens, and like they're speaking about like these different species and whatnot. And my mom, someone who never believed in aliens, and I'm not kidding you, like she literally was against it, like they don't exist, they're not real. And I was just sharing this with her, and she's like, oh, can I see? And I was talking about like the blue avian, like this blue, 6-8 foot tall being that's like feathery and whatnot. And I showed it to her, and I paused the episode, and I showed her, and she's like, that's it. That's what I saw that night. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And this is like years later, right? And she's like, that's the one. Like, remember when I woke up screaming and like freaking out and stuff? And I'm like, what? Like what? I was in just disbelief. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, my mom saw this thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, like, I remember slightly. Like, it was coming back to me, and I'm like, oh, I remember that night. And she's like, that's what I saw. And she told me the feathers felt like, because she felt the feathers actually brush on her skin, like they felt like they were levitating and just like floating, and this thing was so tall up to the ceiling. And it was interesting because it was looking at my little brother. And Corey Good actually mentions that they typically, I think it was in that episode, or I heard it somewhere else, where they typically visit those who incarnate here as a human, from their species, right? So my little brother could be an incarnate from a blue avian, which makes a lot of sense, or my whole family might be. I view myself more as like a Lyrian cat. Right here, this is my higher self, looking at me right now, channeling consciousness to my human body right now. So my body is in my spirit. So just, that's how I see it. However, this experience, when I shared it with the people who introduced me to the cosmic disclosure, they were like, well, maybe this is validation for you to recognize the reality of this, because it all started connecting. My mom, you know, finally started, like, she actually, it clicked in her head, like, holy crap, like, maybe aliens are real, like, you know, all this is actually a thing. And that was validation for me. Like, that experience, my mom, who doesn't believe in aliens, agreed to this one, though. So, like, that's the ultimate validation. I don't need any more after that, right? So, like, it was just so interesting. And then later on, this, like, I think like 2-3 months ago, my mom told me about, like, Resident Alien on Netflix, that show. Super funny. Oh my, OMG, the funniest show. I relate to it so hard. But there's an episode, few episodes with a blue avian bird creature, right? And they're mentioning all the other species and whatnot. And the guy from History Channel is on there. My mom loves this show, by the way. And yeah, it's like in there, right? One of the species. And it's like coming from my mom, who never ever believed in them. And now she's like, that's what I saw. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But the reality of all this is really clicking for me as in terms of validation, right? Now, let's get to number 3. My number 3 experience was, I was working out outside in our outside gym area with an ex-girlfriend of mine one day. And this was the weirdest one of all, because we were like just chatting and like working out, and then all of a sudden I see like this like light, this just orb kind of thing floating, and I thought it was like a helicopter. And I don't know, like literally my whole like consciousness, like it didn't make sense. It was like disrupted. I was just looking at it like, you know, as it was just floating. This was probably like 2 trees high. It wasn't even that high up. And it was just floating like this white orb, just shining, just slowly. No noise, nothing. And I'm looking at it thinking, oh, it's a helicopter. That's really cool. Me and my girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, we're looking at it, just floating by. And then as it finally reached like pretty like far out, like not too far, but enough where I could see it, like all of a sudden like I shifted, and I'm like, holy shit, like where's my phone? Like what the hell? Like this thing's making no noise, like it's super close to the ground, it's just a fucking ball of light, like it's not a helicopter, like, you know. All of a sudden my consciousness like clicked back in. Like I was not able to perceive and like act upon like what I'm seeing, because if I had my camera I would have videotaped it. But like for some reason, and then I told him, like, and I snapped into it, I'm like, do you see this? And she's like, whoa, what the heck? Like even she was like freaking out about it, right? Well, she wasn't too like freaked out. She was like, wow, like yeah, they really are real. And I'm like, yeah, like what the you know, what the flipper? But that was the weird thing, because it's like these telepathic things where they can like stop your consciousness for a time being. Even Dolores Cannon touches up on this, right? Like essentially what extraterrestrials are. Let's get into a little bit of what Dolores Cannon says about this. And she's a quantum healing hypnotherapist who's, you know, put tons of people in this channeled states of hypnosis, and they all start speaking the same things about the universe. People that have never met each other, countries away, like whatever. QHHT sessions. So she mentions that these beings, like grays, talls, whatever, anything, you know, they're all higher density version of essentially yourself, because you have source, everything, universe, the essence of all, right? And you literally just fragment yourself, because your source fragmenting, having it's the universe experiencing itself. This is all just a cosmic ejaculation of source. And what's interesting as it all fragments down is like you can have let's say you're a blue avian having the human experience, like projecting your consciousness on to a human, and you know you can come visit yourself. However, what Dolores Cannon mentions is like, in order for these beings to be seen here on this planet, well, the planet's now shifted, you know, we're now in 5D plus, where we've expanded, all right? But the point is like they still have to lower their vibration to be visible to us, and it's really strenuous on them to do so, including their ships, including everything else. So interdimensional, multi-dimensional beings, is what it really is. And they really are just you. Like, you are them. Just, you know, you're here on Earth having the individual human experience, and just like that being is also having an individual experience, you know, not disconnected, but like from source. And so is everything else. You know, if we really want to get into that space. So it's really understanding that there's sirens. Yeah, let's shed some light on the truth here. You are having this human individual experience, and you are source, just to let you know. This life, this experience was really just meant for me and you and ourselves to put limitations and try things out, because it's scary to think of infinity. Like, I actually thought about it, like thinking of infinity and like having access to everything at all times. It's actually almost claustrophobic, because it's like, you know where everything is, there's no limitation. Like, well, maybe if you know where everything is, like there's a limitation, and it gets scary. Like, so you go through the veil of amnesia, you have this human experience, and now everything that you experience in your life is really pleasant, because you're no longer like stuck and just thinking like, you know, everything that you get to experience, all these feelings and emotions is really a gift. You get to forget who you are, remember who you are, and have this very pleasant human individual experience with others, and rendezvous here with yourself, except in individual fragments. So those are my 3 top stories, and I'm choosing to embrace the metaphysical. You know, I'm not crazy or anything. And this is just my experience. So let me know in the comments below if you've experienced anything like this. And don't be afraid to share it. I hope you're not. Because I want to see what other people have experienced. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And hit that like notification button so you can be notified when more of my content comes out. Anyway, much love. Love and light vibration out. Have a wonderful, magnificent, transformative, alchemizing day, cosmic souls. Bye.